The Vakari Empire prided itself on precision. Every mission, every engagement, every battle, meticulously planned, flawlessly executed. Their elite operatives were the best in the galaxy, trained to neutralize threats before they became problems. And today, their problem had a name: Garrick Kane, a human mercenary. A relic of a bygone era, or so Commander Zyrol thought. His species had long dismissed humans as brutal but predictable. Deathworlders, yes, but shackled by outdated weapons and primitive instincts. Against the Vakari's cutting-edge technology, Kane was nothing more than a nuisance, and yet the Empire wanted him alive. Zyrol never questioned orders. But as his squad descended onto the barren wasteland of Vornis 7, doubts gnawed at the back of his mind. He reviewed the briefing once more, eyes narrowing. Subject: Garrick Kane, former Terran military, Special Forces operative, discharged under classified circumstances, currently operates as an independent asset. Notable engagements: termination of the Cormac warlords, sabotage of the Threx Dominion, elimination of multiple high-value targets. Final note: extreme caution advised. Do not engage in close quarters. Zyrol scoffed. Fear-mongering nonsense. His team was elite. Cloaking fields, neural disruptors, high-intensity stasis nets. They were equipped for any scenario. Kane wouldn't even see them coming. He opened a comlink. Alpha Squad, report. Perimeter secured. No sign of resistance. Of course not. Kane was just a man. He wouldn't be foolish enough to fight a Vakari strike team head-on. Proceed with containment protocols, Zyrol ordered. Let's bring our guest home. His soldiers spread out, moving in perfect synchronization. Motion trackers hummed, scanning the area. Kane's location pinged, a ruined structure near the canyon's edge. Zyrol smirked. Cornered. Squad Beta, secure the exit. Alpha, move in. The Vakari advanced, weapons primed. No movement, no resistance. Just an eerie silence. Then the first body dropped. No warning, no sound. One moment Beta 3 was standing at the ridge, then he was gone. His life signs vanished, his body yanked into the darkness. Beta 3, respond. Silence. Zyrol's mandibles twitched. Thermal scans now. The nearest soldier switched views. His breath hitched. Commander, we're not alone. Heat signatures flickered, moving fast, impossibly fast. Zyrol's pulse spiked. Kane wasn't hiding, he wasn't running, he was hunting. The commander clenched his fists. No more games. Deploy suppression fields. Lock this sector down. His men scrambled, nets launched, drones activated, shields hummed to life. And then the screaming started. Zyrol turned, eyes widening as something cut through the shadows, something sharp, fast, and merciless. The briefing had warned them, do not engage in close quarters. And now, it was too late. Zyrol's grip tightened around his plasma rifle. The night vision overlay flickered, trying to track whatever was moving in the darkness. The strike team was elite, trained to eliminate high-priority targets with precision, and yet they were dying. The first scream had barely faded before the second came, a choked, gurgling sound. Zyrol turned sharply, only to see Beta 2's body collapse, his armor cleaved open from shoulder to hip. The glow of his life support system flickered, then died. Impossible. No projectile had been fired. No energy signature detected. Just a blur of movement and a single stroke. Form up. Zyrol barked, forcing down the rising panic. Tactical formation, now! The squad scrambled to regroup, their cloaking fields shifting in and out of phase as they activated emergency defenses, and then silence. Kane was toying with them. A low rasp echoed through the canyon, metal scraping against metal. Zyrol turned his head toward the ruined structure ahead. A silhouette stood at the entrance. The human, Garrick Kane, stepped forward, his form illuminated by the squad's tracking systems. His armor was battered but functional, a fusion of Terran, in combat gear and salvaged alien tech. But what made Zyrol's blood run cold was the weapon in Kane's hand, not a plasma rifle, not a railgun, a blade, not some ceremonial relic, a true weapon of war, a long curved sword, humming with kinetic energy, its edge gleaming under the alien moonlight. Kane tilted his head, studying them. Then he smiled. It wasn't the grin of a soldier preparing for surrender. It was a predator baring its teeth. 6 left, Kane muttered, loud enough for the squad's audio filters to pick up. Should make this interesting. Zerol didn't hesitate. Fire! Plasma bolts screamed through the air, lighting up the ruins. The squad's targeting systems locked onto Kane, but he was already moving. Zerol barely registered the motion. 1 second, Kane was standing in the doorway. The next, he was among them, too fast. His blade flashed. Alpha 4 went down instantly. His weapon cleaved in two. His torso followed a heartbeat later. Kane didn't stop. He twisted, ducking beneath a plasma shot, his sword whipping through the air. Alpha 1 managed to raise a shield, only for Kane to kick straight through it, shattering the energy field before driving his blade into the soldier's chest. 2 down. The remaining squad members backed up, trained instincts kicking in. But Kane was relentless, a storm of motion. Zerol raised his rifle, only for Kane's free hand to grip the barrel and yank. The commander had half a second to react before a knee slammed into his gut. The force sent Zerol sprawling, his armor's impact dampeners straining to absorb the hit. His vision blurred, but he still saw the carnage unfolding. Alpha 2 tried to retreat. Kane caught him by the throat, lifted him off the ground, and threw him hard. The soldier hit the canyon wall with a sickening crunch. Alpha 3 activated his disruptor field. Kane rolled beneath the blast, came up behind him, and drove his sword through his back. 5 down. Zerol struggled to his feet, gasping. His soldiers, the best of the Vakari Empire, were dead within seconds, and Kane hadn't even broken a sweat. The human turned to face the commander, his blade dripping with blue alien blood. "That all you've got?" Kane's voice was calm, amused. Zerol's claws twitched against his rifle's grip. His instincts screamed at him to run, but it was too late. Kane was already moving. Zerol had seen warriors before. Trained killers, champions of the Vakari Empire. But nothing had prepared him for this. Garrick Kane was not fighting like a soldier. He was fighting like a force of nature. Zerol barely had time to react before Kane closed the distance. The human's speed was unnatural, his movements sharp, precise, lethal. Zerol brought up his rifle, finger tightening on the trigger. Too slow. Kane twisted his grip on the sword, slammed the pommel into Zerol's wrist, and sent the weapon flying. Then came the follow-through, a rising slash. Zerol barely dodged in time. The blade sang through the air, cutting so close that he felt the heat of its kinetic edge against his armor. He staggered back, drawing his sidearm, but Kane was already inside his guard. A brutal elbow to the side of his skull sent his vision spinning. His helmet's HUD flickered, struggling to compensate. Before he could recover, Kane gripped his shoulder, twisted, and drove a knee into his chest. Ribs cracked. Zerol felt his breath ripped from his lungs as he hit the ground, gasping. His mind screamed for him to get up, move, fight, do something. But Kane was already standing over him, blade poised for the kill. The human's expression was unreadable, cold, focused, no hesitation, no fear. This wasn't a soldier. This was a predator. Zerol did the only thing he could. He activated his combat stimulants. A sharp hiss filled his ears as the emergency injectors flooded his system. Pain vanished. Muscles surged with artificial strength. Time slowed. Kane's blade came down. Zerol rolled just in time, the edge slicing through his armor like paper. The moment his feet hit the ground, he launched himself forward. Speed, power, momentum. He struck, a full-force clawed swipe aimed at Kane's exposed flank. Kane didn't dodge. He countered. His left hand caught Zerol's wrist mid-swing, and then a twist. Zyrol's entire body flipped, his balance shattered. He was suddenly airborne. Then Kane slammed him into the ground. The impact stole all the air from his lungs. His vision exploded with static. His enhanced reflexes barely mattered because Kane was stronger, faster, more dangerous. Zyrol's instinct screamed. He had to do something, but Kane was already moving. Ruthless, efficient, unstoppable. The blade came down again. Zyrol barely raised his arm in time. The sword bit into his forearm armor, stopping just short of slicing through flesh. Then Kane twisted the blade. Metal screeched. The armor buckled. Zyrol roared in pain, but he wasn't dead. Not yet. With a desperate burst of strength, Zyrol kicked off the ground, driving both feet into Kane's chest. It worked. Kane staggered back, his grip loosening just enough for Zyrol to wrench himself free. The Vakari commander scrambled back, his breathing ragged. He had fought in dozens of battles. He had crushed entire rebel worlds, but nothing had ever felt like this. This wasn't a war zone. This was survival, and he was losing. Kane stood a few meters away, rolling his shoulders. His breath was even, his stance relaxed, like this was easy for him. Zyrol's mind raced. His squad was gone, his weapons useless, his enhanced physiology outmatched. There was only one option left: run. He reached for his emergency beacon, and Kane moved. Zyrol had never seen anyone accelerate. That fast one moment, Kane was standing still. The next, a blur of motion. Zyrol barely registered the impact before his world turned upside down. Kane's shoulder slammed into his chest. A full-speed tackle. Zyrol hit the ground hard. His armor's impact dampeners barely absorbed the force. Then came the blade, not a killing strike, a warning. Kane's sword rested against his throat. The fight was over. He had lost. Zyrol's vision swam. His limbs trembled. He had never felt this kind of fear before. The human stared down at him, expression unreadable. Then, that smirk again. Kane tilted his head. "Guess you figured it out, huh?" he murmured. Zyrol couldn't speak. His throat was dry. Kane's grip on the sword tightened slightly. "You're lucky," he said. "I don't kill messengers." Zyrol's breathing hitched. Kane leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "Tell your people," he said. "Earth isn't prey." Then he stood, sheathing his blade, and walked away, leaving Zyrol alive, but forever changed. Zyrol staggered backward, clutching at his wounded arm. His breath came in ragged gasps, his vision blurred with pain and exhaustion. This was not how it was supposed to go. The plan had been simple. Engage the human, overwhelm him with superior numbers, end the threat. But now, his squad was gone, slaughtered, and Garrick Kane was still standing. Zyrol's hands shook as he activated his comm. "Command, this is Zyrol, requesting immediate extraction. We underestimated the human. He's..." A sharp static screech cut him off. No response. Comms were jammed. His blood ran cold. Kane had planned for this. Zyrol's mandibles clenched. His mind raced. He still had options, contingencies. He opened his tactical display, searching for the nearest support squad. 4 warriors closing in fast. That was enough. It had to be. He forced himself to stand, steady, focused. He was a commander of the Vakari Empire. He would not fall to some primal Deathworlder. He activated his external speakers. "Human!" His voice echoed through the ravaged battlefield. "You may have won a skirmish, but this fight is far from over." Kane tilted his head, that damn smirk still on his face. Zyrol bared his fangs. Let him gloat. The fool didn't realize what was coming. A high-pitched whine filled the air as the support squad locked onto Kane's position. Zyrol's eyes gleamed. "With triumph, you're outnumbered now, human." Kane exhaled, rolling his shoulders. "Outnumbered." Then he grinned. "That just makes it fun." Zyrol's gut twisted. The trap was set. But suddenly, it felt like it wasn't his trap anymore. The support squad rushed in, plasma rifles charged, grenades primed. Kane didn't move, he just watched. Zyrol snarled, "Open fire!" A thunderstorm of plasma erupted. Zyrol braced for the inevitable, but Kane was already gone. Not hit. Not down, gone then. Screams. Zyrol turned just in time to see the first warrior go down. Kane had already reached them. Close quarters, brutal, effortless. A flash of steel, a head rolled, a second warrior fired point blank. Kane sidestepped, blade, cutting through his rifle, then his chest. The third tried to run. Kane caught him, a single crack, his neck snapped. In seconds, the support squad was gone. And Kane, he wasn't even breathing hard. Zyrol froze. This was wrong. Everything was wrong. The humans should have died. He should have been overwhelmed, but instead, he had turned the ambush against them. Like he knew exactly what they would do. Like he had seen it before. Zyrol took a slow step back, and Kane just smiled. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't mockery. It was certainty. Like this was all just a game. Zyrol's mind screamed. He had to think, plan, escape. But it was too late, because Kane was moving again, and this time he was coming for him. Zyrol's instinct screamed at him to run, but he knew it wouldn't matter. Kane was already closing in. His boots crunched over the fallen, his blade dripped with the blood of Zyrol's warriors, his eyes cold, calculated, unstoppable. Zyrol's claws tightened around his plasma rifle. One shot. That's all he needed. He raised the weapon. Too slow. A flash of silver. Kane's blade sliced through the barrel before Zyrol could even react. The rifle exploded in his hands. Zyrol reeled back, his mandibles snapping in fury. His tail lashed out, whipping toward Kane's head. Kane ducked, effortless. Then, a fist to Zyrol's gut, a hammer blow of force, backed by dense human muscle and unrelenting brutality. Zyrol staggered. Kane didn't stop. An elbow crashed into his jaw, a sharp, brutal strike meant to break bone. Pain exploded through Zyrol's skull. His vision blurred, but he couldn't fall. Not yet. He lashed out blindly, his claws swiping toward Kane's throat. Another mistake. Kane caught Zyrol's wrist. Mid-swing, a vice grip of pure strength. Then he twisted. Snap! Zyrol roared in agony. His arm, useless. Kane shoved him back, watching without emotion as the Vakari commander collapsed onto one knee. This was it. The nightmare. He had seen it in reports. He had heard the whispers. Humans don't stop. They don't break. They don't. You fear. They only adapt. They only evolve. They only win. And now, he understood. Kane wiped the blood from his blade. His voice was calm, almost disappointed. You should have run when you had the chance. Zyrol coughed, struggling to breathe. His body screamed for him to submit, to beg. But he was a Vakari, a commander of the Empire, and so he laughed, a low, broken sound. You're a monster, he rasped. Kane didn't blink. No. His eyes were like steel. I'm human. Then he raised the blade. Zyrol closed his eyes, and the nightmare ended. Silence. The Galactic Council chamber, normally a den of endless debate, stood in stunned, horrified quiet. The footage had ended. It had been clear, unedited, undeniable. Full Vakari strike team, armed with plasma weapons, combat armor, and numerical superiority, destroyed by one single human. Councillor Vale, a senior representative of the Ivran Dominion, clicked his mandibles in disbelief. Impossible. His voice trembled. He fought them alone. No support, no armor, and yet he butchered them. The words came from the Trakai delegate, a species known for its warlike nature. But even he looked visibly shaken. Across the chamber, representatives exchanged nervous glances, their unease palpable. A single Deathworlder, unarmored, outnumbered, and yet the elite warriors of the Vakari Empire had been reduced to corpses. Councillor, Jor-El, a reptilian emissary of the Zaya Collective, finally spoke. This is why we feared them. His voice was low, almost reverent. This is why we hesitated to bring them into the galactic fold. A holographic display flickered to life. The last frame of the footage paused, a frozen image of Kane standing over the lifeless body of Commander Zyrol. His blade stained with alien blood, his face emotionless, unshaken. No fear, no regret, only victory. The silence stretched longer, heavier. Finally, High Chancellor Vuran, an elder of the Council, spoke the words no one dared to say aloud. We cannot afford to make an enemy of humanity. A ripple of uneasy agreement spread through the chamber. Humanity wasn't a species to conquer. They weren't a threat to contain. They were a force to be reckoned with. And for the first time in the history of the Galactic Council, true fear settled in their hearts. The council chamber remained in uneasy silence, but behind closed doors, in a private sector of the Grand Assembly, a different conversation was taking place. A room of high-ranking officials, strategists, and military minds sat around a circular table, their faces grim. The human problem. That was what the emergency session had been called. High Chancellor Vuran's voice was the first to break the silence. The footage speaks for itself. A single human, no armor, no firearms, and yet an entire elite unit of Vakari soldiers lies dead. He exhaled slowly, his aged features betraying a weariness that hadn't been there before. This is no longer a hypothetical discussion. Humanity has entered the galactic stage, and we have severely underestimated them. Across the table, Admiral Zekrai of the Tirvex Dominion clicked his claws against the metal surface. We cannot allow this to go unanswered. Councillor Jor-El scoffed. You wish to declare war on a species that fights like that? A few others shifted uncomfortably. Admiral Zekrai's mandibles twitched in frustration. If we do nothing, we show weakness. And if we act recklessly, Jor-El shot back, we risk annihilation. The room fell silent again, because no one could deny the truth. In the past, when the Galactic Council had encountered aggressive civilizations, they had always taken the same approach: containment, isolation, strategic strikes. But this was different. Humanity wasn't a warmongering species. They weren't mindless conquerors like the Gravok or the bloodthirsty Vaxxer clans. They were something worse. They were unpredictable. They were adaptive. And worst of all, they weren't afraid. Chancellor Vuran rubbed his temples. Containment is no longer an option. Conflict is unwise. But we cannot simply ignore them. His gaze swept across the room. We must bring humanity into the fold. The room stirred. A few exchanged uncertain glances. You mean invite them into the council? One official asked hesitantly. Vuran nodded. Yes. With the right negotiations, the right incentives, we may yet guide them, shape their role in this galaxy before they carve one for themselves. A pause. Then Councillor Jor-El chuckled darkly. You assume they'll accept, that they'll trust us after what we've done? Vuran's expression darkened. No, I assume they'll remember. And that, more than anything, was what terrified him.